I'm sorry. Okay.
What's up, Harvey? Got it up. You got a sweet spot right there.
Yeah, don't be blocking me. Go right here, right here. You know we have to squeeze them. I can move mine over a little bit. Use your manners. You got enough?
I see, Rachel.
All right, good evening, good evening, good evening.
We can work together.
First and foremost, I want to welcome everyone here tonight for the Q&A. This was brought about because we had at our township meeting, we had a resident suggest that we bring out candidates who represent Thornton Township, and I thought this would be a good idea to have you hear from them some of the issues that support or maybe we don't support here in the township. But more than anything, it was an opportunity to hear directly from the candidate, where you're not just seeing them on television commercials and pamphlets that you're receiving at your home. So we invited the candidates out. Some could make it tonight. Some scheduling was an issue for some. Some are running late, but nevertheless, the ones that are here, we're going to hear from them. This was meant to be inviting, friendly, family atmosphere, just to really get information. This is an information gathering setting. This is not a political setting. This is not something where there's any endorsements, anything of that nature. This is purely for informational purposes, to make sure that you as a constituent understand the issues and find some information regarding a particular candidate or elected official in their respective roles. We have, as you know, we have races coming up in the 2026 block, and we have a U.S. Senate race. You know, it's been known for a few months now that U.S. Senator Durbin has decided not to run for re-election, and thus far people who have submitted or made known that they are anticipating or trying to get the office of U.S. Senate has been our Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton, Congressman Roger Christie-Morphy, and Congresswoman Robin Kelly. Those three. I believe that Congresswoman Kelly is in D.C. I don't believe she'll be here tonight, but Congressman Roger Christie-Morphy will be here shortly. But we have with us now our Lieutenant Governor, Ms. Juliana Stratton, who served in the General Assembly before taking that role of being Lieutenant Governor. And tonight, the format is, if you haven't received them already, there's some cards going around, but we also have some questions that I've done based on certain topics of the day, so to speak, that we'll go around, she'll pick it, and then we'll go from there. So, let's see. Go ahead. So the way the format is going to run, the candidate is going to have an opportunity to have a 3-minute opening statement. Then they'll select the card, the topic, I'll ask the question, and then we'll go a little Q&A, simple, and then she'll have a closing statement, 2 minutes. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our Lieutenant Governor, Mrs. Juliana Stratton.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you. First of all, I just want to thank your committeeman, Supervisor Napoleon Harris. Thank you for your leadership, and to all of the Thornton Township Democrats for this gathering tonight. And thank you all for being so engaged in our democracy. This is what democracy looks like, people coming out to hear from the candidates who want to represent them. And I get the opportunity to work with your supervisor, and I just want to say thank you so much for bringing us together. I am Juliana Stratton. I'm proud to serve as your Lieutenant Governor alongside Governor J.B. Pritzker, but I'm especially proud to be here tonight as a candidate to represent you in the United States Senate. We have an opportunity. As you heard, Senator Dick Durbin decided that he is not running for re-election in 2026. And it will be the first time that this seat is open in 30 years. So there's an opportunity to elect someone new and bring new voices, new perspectives, and new energy to Washington, D.C. I always say that I'm not a typical politician. I don't come from a political family. I didn't come from, like, this was not the plan that I had my whole life. I got to this place of running for Senate because 10 years ago I was caring for my mother who had Alzheimer's. And as I was caring for her, my previous state representative and our previous governor were working to strip away health care from seniors. And I looked at the television and I yelled at the television, somebody should run against him. I did not know it would be me, but I saw a need and I stepped up to meet that need because I knew that so many seniors in our communities needed health care just like my mother did. Here we are, 10 years later. I ran that race and I won it, by the way. And now 10 years later, what I've been doing is not sitting around planning to run for Senate. I've been doing the work, getting big things done for the people of Illinois alongside our governor. We have created thousands of jobs all over our state. We raised the minimum wage, lifting so many people out of poverty. And we have protected our rights, which is so important. And so here I am, opportunity where we are again seeing so much being stripped away by Donald Trump and Congressional Republicans. And once again, I, Juliana Stratton, see a need and I'm stepping up to fill it. So I'm here tonight grateful for this opportunity to answer your questions and to share a little bit about my campaign for United States Senator. But mostly what I want you to know is that I don't want this to be the only time we talk. My job as a senator will be to take your voices with me to Washington. And that means we have to be together. You all have seen me in the Southland, and some of you may not have. I've been here over and over again. I saw some people tonight that I saw last time I was here. And my job will be to recognize all of the strengths of the Southland, making sure that I advocate for you and take your voices with me to Washington. And I look forward to working hard to earn your support. And I'm ready to take your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. At this time, Mr. Russell is going to present cards, 4 cards, and then that's where we're going to start with the questions.
The category, this is like Jeopardy. The category is voting rights and democratic reform.
So the first question is, Supreme Court's recent decisions have weakened federal voting protections. Will you support federal legislation to guarantee things like same-day registration, automatic registration, and vote by mail? Also, and will you advocate for the structural reforms, i.e. filibuster changes or court expansions, necessary to make that legislation possible?
Well, first of all, voting rights are important to all of us. I mean, we're all here because we understand the power of the vote. And we know that there's an administration in Washington right now that wants to take away that power. They want people to be disenfranchised. They want to suppress the vote. I'm proud of what we've been able to do here in Illinois to expand the right to vote. Those things that you talked about, same-day voter registration, mail-in ballots and voting, those are things that we have done here in Illinois, which is why I want to run for why I'm running for the United States Senate, because I want to take the things that we have gotten done right here in Illinois to Washington, D.C. When I think about, one of the things that I want to say about voting rights is to recognize that Donald Trump has spent so much of his time, not just in this term, but his first term and every year in between, trying to spread lies about our voting system, our election system. Our election system is safe and it is fair, but he is trying to discredit it so that people will step away and not trust our voting and electoral system. We have to make sure that, first of all, we counter those lies. And one thing that I'm not shy of doing is calling out Donald Trump and his lies and his nonsense. And we need fighters like that in Washington who are going to look him in the eye and tell him that what he is saying is simply not true, and then make sure that the truth gets told to the people that we represent. So I would make sure that I fight for the things that we have already done here in Illinois. I will work hard to pass and make sure I vote for the John Lewis Voting Rights Act to make sure that we can expand access to voting. And let me tell you one quick story. My father marched from Selma to Montgomery. He knew back in 1965 how important it was to get up and do something, to fight for people to have the right to vote. And that's in my DNA. And I look at my father's article that he wrote that's hanging in my office in the Illinois State Capitol that talks about him marching at that time. And he said the reason why he did it was because he didn't like how people were being treated, and he wanted to make sure that he stood up up and was counted. That's exactly the kind of leader that I want to be, someone who stands up and makes sure that the voices of the people of Illinois gets counted, and I'll do that not only by passing legislation to protect voting rights, but also making sure that we hold all of our systems accountable, especially since they are all under attack right now. Do I pick another card? Okay. Okay. The category is wealth tax and funding public services.
The wealthiest Americans control a disproportionate share of national wealth. Do you support a federal wealth tax on billionaires and millionaires to fund the universal programs? If yes, how would you structure it, enforce it, and which of these public services would you be prioritizing first?
Well, thank you for that question, and the answer is yes. I mean, look what just happened in Washington, D.C. over the last few days. We are seeing an attack on working people by the Trump administration and congressional Republicans. We are seeing millions of Americans being stripped of their health care. We are seeing millions of Americans being stripped of SNAP benefits, benefits that will help them put food on the table for themselves and their children. And I will not stand for that. I don't think that we should have a government that is making it harder for working class people and our most vulnerable among us, while it is giving tax breaks to the ultra wealthy. And that's what we are seeing by the Trump administration right now. Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and his friends, they're all going to get wealthier with the tax breaks that they just got. What I would like to see is that we have a tax break for middle class families, and that we pay for it by a tax increase for millionaires and billionaires. So that's the structure that I would see, and I think that that will help us to fund more, not the other way around, which is what this administration is doing. Middle class families need relief. Things are too expensive. It's too expensive for groceries. Housing is expensive. Everything. It's just hard to take care of your basic everyday needs, and yet why are we the ones seeing the tax increase? It should be the other way around, and as your next United States Senator, I will stand up and be a voice and fight for the working families of Illinois.
In your opening statement, you talked about one of the reasons that you got involved in government was health insurance and seeing families disproportionately kicked off or therefore the lack thereof. Nearly 30 million Americans lack coverage. Do you support Medicare for all, or would you propose an alternative plan? If you oppose a single-payer system, explain exactly how you would approach or remove the private profits from essential care involved in universal coverage and the cost-controlling measures.
What I want to see is that we make health care more accessible and affordable for everyone. Because right now, I'm worried that we're not going to have health care. We've already seen so many people be stripped away of their Medicaid. And if we don't have fighters in Washington who are going to stand up to Donald Trump and be a fighter for the people that they represent, I don't know where this is going to end up. But that's the kind of fighter that I will be. We have already helped reduce medical costs and the cost of insurance right here in Illinois, and you've been a part of that work. We have, if you just saw recently, we have eliminated the work of the pharmacy benefit managers, because there was a middle person that was, instead of you just getting the medication that you need, there was a middle person who was coming and making your prescription drugs more expensive. Here in Illinois, we're making the cost of prescription drugs more affordable. We are eliminating medical debt for tens of thousands of Illinoisans. For people who can't get ahead, their credit's messed up, they can't get it impacts their job and so much more because they have medical debt. But people should not be punished because they broke their leg or because some other medical issue happened to their child. And so we are eliminating medical debt, again, making life more affordable. And through the Healthcare Protection Act, which we passed in our administration, we are making healthcare more affordable. I don't know if you all have ever heard of something called step therapy. Have you heard of that concept? Step therapy means that when your doctor tells you, here's what I want you to do, I want you to take this treatment, and this is going to help you feel better. Step therapy said, no, we're going to start with this. I don't care, the insurance company comes in and says, start with this first. I know your doctor said that, but I want you to start with plan A. Oh, plan A fails, let's try plan B. Plan B fails, let's go to C. Meanwhile, guess what? You have no relief. So we eliminated the step therapy. And I know that Senator Robert Peters is here today. He was one of the chief sponsors of that legislation. You'll hear from him later. But that's the work that we have done in Illinois to make sure that it's not insurance companies that are just getting rich, but that when you have a need, a medical need, you work with your doctor, because it should be between you and your doctor and not an insurance company to tell you what kind of care you need.
Got a couple more questions for you, Ms. Lieutenant Governor. Housing rights and tenant protections. Housing affordability is a crisis, especially here in Illinois. Do you support national rent control, tenant bill of rights, and large public housing investments, or would you back up federal funding for community land trusts to reduce displacement? And if so, how would you implement that to scale?
Well, I think what I would do is I would want to hear from the communities like those of you here today around what is the best solution for your community. There are going to be so many plans, but one thing we know, housing is there's not enough housing, there's not enough affordable housing, and that people cannot afford to get homes. I have 4 daughters, and my daughters 3 of them are adults, and they're constantly asking the question about whether they are going to ever be able to buy a home or buy a condo. That is a typical conversation that so many people are having. And we have to have a real conversation and a plan. But what I don't want to do is not ask what is the need of a particular community, because communities have different needs. What your community looks like, what the feel of the community is, where housing should be, is so important for the Southland, and what kind of housing along with that, all of that is important. So I would want to make sure that we voices of the people that I'm representing, and making sure that we look at the differences between, because I chair the Rural Affairs Council for our administration, housing needs in rural communities where there are so many older homes and we can't get a lot of people to move into those communities versus what you might see in a dense area. So we'd have to look at solutions that include the unique needs of each of the communities. And I want to take your voices with me to Washington, D.C., and we will work on those solutions together.
One of the hot topics of the moment, and has been so over the last few years, has been immigration. What's your stance on a plan for immigration as opposed to what's currently going on at the federal level?
First of all, Illinois follows the law, and Illinois follows the Constitution. And so when we talk about immigration, what we're seeing right now is people being snatched off the streets by people who have masks. We cannot see their faces. They're being put into cars that don't have any markings on them, and there is no due process. And I believe in following the Constitution, and I believe in the right to due process, and that's what we have always fought for here in Illinois. Now, let me be clear. If there's someone who is convicted of a violent crime or a threat to public safety, from that standpoint, convicted of a violent crime, we would work with our federal partners to make sure that they are removed. Because somebody who is a threat to public safety and convicted of a violent crime, we would want to see that happen. But I'm not talking about what we are seeing. That's not what we're seeing right now. We're seeing neighbors, people who have been here for a number of years, who are working, taking care of their children. They are our neighbors. They're people that we see all the time, being ripped away, stuffed into cars, and that is not following the Constitution. And to me, Donald Trump and congressional Republicans are getting to a place where they are overlooking our Constitution. They're stomping on our Constitution. And I don't think that it's right. And we have to recognize that we have to follow the Constitution. We all just celebrated the 4th of July and recognized how fragile our democracy can be when we decide that we're going to overlook what the law is. And if you do it for one group, you're going to do it for another group as well. And I just need to say that. So what I would like to see in terms of immigration is I want to see a real path to citizenship. There are people who have been here for a number of years. There should be a path to citizenship and the resources that are necessary to allow for that. We do need to make sure that we have a secure border, but we also need to make sure that for asylum seekers, that there is a path to due process to process those claims. And like I said, the resources to make sure that it can happen. And then when it comes to enforcement, we should not be using any of our enforcement dollars to attack our neighbors and the people that we live alongside of, that we have known all our lives and have lived in our communities. The enforcement dollars should focus again on a threat to public safety, because public safety must always be highest priority.
This is my final question before your closing statements. With the federal government being so polarizing, and with the president having both chambers, the Senate and the House, what does your candidacy, or you being elected in the U.S. Senator, how does that influence or affect change that Thornton Township is looking for at the federal level?
First of all, it's not going to be easy, but I didn't run for something that was easy. I'm running because when I woke up the day after election day in November, I have a little one. She's 9 years old, and when she woke up, she was in tears when we told her the outcome of the election. And I knew that we had to step up and do something and fight back. Now, there were a lot of people who kind of said, I don't know, this took something out of me, and I'm not sure what I can do if I have any more left in me. But what I knew, that it wasn't just about us. It's about our children and our children's children. And if we don't fight back right now against what's happening in this chaos in Washington, D.C., then what's going to be left of our democracy in our country? What's going to be left of our rights? So, how will I handle things in Washington, D.C.? The way that I have as your lieutenant governor, the way that I did when I was a state representative, the way that I handled things when I was a local school council rep at a Chicago public school on the south side of Chicago. I will do it, number one, by centering the people that I'm supposed to be representing. That you don't run for this kind of office because you want a title or because you think it's something cool to do. You do it because you're ready to roll up your sleeves and do the hard work of representing people and their interests. The work that we have done here in Illinois has put the people right at the center. The second thing I will do, and somebody asked me tonight, will you fight? I will be a fighter. When I go around this state, there is one thing that people look me in the eye when I say, what's your key issue? They say, number one, I want someone to stand up and fight. Because the old playbook in Washington is no longer working. We need new ideas, we need fresh perspectives, and we need somebody who's going to go toe to toe, and I will go to the mat fighting for each and every one of you. And the third thing that I will say is that we have a blueprint right here in Illinois in terms of how to get things done. And so I don't go to Washington not with ideas and not with the ability to get things done, because we got it done right here. And I want to bring that same fight and that same ability to get things done to Washington. Now, I'll tell you this as I close. I'm a lawyer, and for 20 years, I did mediation. That means I brought people to a table just like this. People who were on opposite ends, they were in conflict, they did not agree, and I brought them to a table just like this and said, let's work on trying to find a resolution. So I will always work to find the best solution for the people, no matter what it is, no matter where the idea comes from. But I will never compromise my values. And I think that's what we as Illinoisans always know. We have strong values, family values, community values, and I am not going to compromise those values for anyone. I'll do what's best for you as the people of Illinois. That wasn't my closing. I want to say one quick thing. 2 minutes, all right. I just want to say thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you about my campaign. This is not going to be easy. It is going to be a lot of hard work, but I am ready to do that work. I am ready to roll up my sleeves and humbly work hard to earn your support. For those of you who have already expressed your support, thank you. It means the world to me. But to those of you who are still deciding, just know I'm going to work hard. And this will not be the last time that we talk to each other, because I see this as an ongoing relationship, and that's how it should be with your elected officials. And so I look forward to working hard every day on the campaign trail. I know that we can win this. I can win this race, but I cannot do it without your support. I'm Juliana Stratton. I'm running for United States Senate, and I humbly ask for your support. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much.
So next up, we have more candidates for the United States Senate who have arrived. We have Congressman Roger Christomorphy, and we also have Mr. Anthony Williams. Is he here?
Yeah, I'm here. Come on up, Mr. Williams. You know, I didn't know, I'm sorry. Where do you want?
So once again, these are the declared candidates running for United States Senate. At the time when Lieutenant Governor was presented, I didn't know that anyone else was here at the moment. So the structure is, we're going to have 3-minute opening remarks, introduction, and then we're going to select from the cards, topic, and then we'll ask a Q&A, then you have 2 minutes close each item. So this is not, like I said before, you guys wasn't here, this is an opportunity to just have dialogue with the community. This is not an endorsement session, it's more so an information, informative. So at this time, we're going to have Congressman Roger, your 3-minute opening statement, and then we'll go to Mr. Williams for his opening statement, and then you select cards and we ask questions.
Good morning, good evening. Good evening. It's an honor to be with you. As I like to say, it's an honor to be any place they can pronounce my name right. And it's a true story. When I first ran for office, I said, hi, my name is Raja Krishnamurthy. And the person looked right back at me and said, Roger Christian Murphy. Very nice to meet you. In any case, I want to just say thank you to Senator Harris for having us today. Give him a big round of applause for everything he does every day. And he has a mean golf game as well, as I recently learned. So congratulations. And I just want to say a big thank you to all of you for coming out. Look, I'll just tell you a little bit about my background and then why am I here. My background is, I was born in India, came to this country when I was 3 months old. Things were going great until suddenly the recession of 1973 hit us really hard. And at that time, my father lost his income. But thanks to the generosity of the American people, we were allowed to move into public housing and food stamps. So I spent about half of my early childhood in those 2 life-sustaining programs. And my father was able to get back on his feet and then find a great job in, of all places, Peoria, Illinois. And so that's where we entered the middle class, and pretty much every night at the dinner table, my father would say something along the lines of, think of the greatness of this country, and whatever you do to my brother and me, just make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. That became my North Star. And so fast forward through college and law school, coming back and working in the public and private sectors in Illinois, I got elected to this position, and 5 terms later, that mission statement assigned to me by my parents has become the mission statement of my office. Make sure this country is there for the next families who need it. Period. End of story. That's what I believe is my why, my purpose on earth, and I think that's also what motivates me to run for the U.S. Senate. I believe right now, especially now, during the economic chaos that Donald Trump has unleashed, we're kind of in a moment where, unfortunately, the question that's before us is, do we want a government that's there fighting for those who are trying to make it, or a government that's there catering to those who have it made? I believe we always want a government that's fighting for those who are fighting to make it. That's my story, and I believe the American dream needs to be accessible to everybody. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Anthony W. Williams, and I am a native of the state of Illinois, raised in Chicago, a 30-year resident of Dalton, Illinois, of the Township. Somebody asked me, why do you want to run for United States Senator? I said, to do good. And they paused. As a citizen, I'm a pastor of the United Church of Christ. I'm an elected trustee at the South Suburban College. Let me share with you. You know you don't get paid for that. See, you got to get elected, y'all. 6 years, you don't get paid for that. What kind of person did that tell you that I am? April 27th, I introduced Governor J.B. Pritzker to sign the Illinois Health Reform Bill. My son got killed. I knew that we had to address the number one issue of the 21st century, that's violence. The number one issue of the 21st century is not the economy, it's not Donald Trump, it's the disease of violence. Somebody has to address it, you all. It's disease, infectious but not contagious. It has to be addressed by a process of civility. You can say whatever you want, we're in troubled times, but I'm saying, don't you get weary. I have a history of fighting and being on the right side of history. You can Google me up. If you all, this race is in your hands. It's an open race. And it's about who's going to help you and your family eat. Do you want what's best for your family, y'all? Yes. I want to talk about the Illinois Best Plan. The best educational system in the world, the best transportation system in the world, the best healthcare system in the world. I want the best for you all and for this state. We are blessed to be in a great blue state like Illinois. And so I represent something different. I'm not part of the status quo. And so that's my background. I have a history of service, not just showing up and talking good, but working every day for free, you all. For free. So this is going to be a great debate, but I tell you, I'm a little bit, and wouldn't it be something, you got a pope from Thornton Township? Wouldn't you have a senator from Thornton Township? Come on, y'all. Great day. Thank you. Supervisor, excuse me folks, I gotta answer this. Supervisor, this says Green New Deal and just translation.
So the question is, do you fully support the Green New Deal framework, and what specific policies would you champion to shift the economy away from fossil fuels to create unionized green jobs and invest in communities historically burdened by pollution?
Well, first of all, I support it because of the fact that we've got to realize that the environment is being destroyed every day. And there are technologies out there, some that I'm not aware of, some that I am aware of. And so I support it wholeheartedly.
Congressman, your question.
Corporate power and anti-monopoly strategy.
The question is, corporations wield systemic influence in our economy and politics. What specific legislation would you sponsor to break up monopolies, limit corporate political spending, and foster public or cooperative ownership in critical sectors like housing or energy?
Thank you. This has kind of been my career, defined my career in Congress, which is taking on bad corporate actors and corporate bullies. I led the investigations into Juul and e-cigarette companies for preying on our youth and hooking them onto vapes. I went after food conglomerates that basically poison our baby food with toxic heavy metals. I went after Johnson & Johnson, which sells carcinogenic, cancer-causing baby powder mainly targeted at black and brown people. I went after all of these corporate bullies and I won, held them accountable. Now I have to go after the biggest bully of them all, and that's Donald Trump. We cannot be in a situation where people are unaccountable. And that includes big tech and other industries where there's tremendous market consolidation, where there's so few competitors, they're able to hike the prices at will. And one of them, by the way, is retail grocery chains. Am I right about that?
Absolutely.
They have a stranglehold on the food supply chain. I went after the most recent merger that was about to happen in the industry. And I won, and that's why I won the endorsement of UFCW 881, the Food and Commercial Workers Union. Why? Because they can't even afford the food that they stock on the shelves in the grocery stores. That's why the 34,000 strong union endorsed me. We have to go after corporate monopolies, introduce more competition. Why? You get more small businesses playing on the playing field. When you have more choices, you have higher quality and lower prices. That's true for housing, that's true for food, that's true for tech, that's true about all industries.
Mr. Williams, your question is concerning public safety. In light of ongoing calls for public safety reform, will you support federal divestment from traditional policing, redirecting funds towards mental health, community-led violence prevention, and restorative justice program? And what legislative steps will you take to enact that change?
I want to go back, Mr. Supervisor, so everybody can really hear me. What does the word violence mean? To violate. The word violence means to violate. One of the key reasons why I'm in this race is to address this disease of violence, you all. The biggest violators are on Pennsylvania Avenue right now. Am I correct? That's understand what that word means, violence. I keep saying it, and I will get on the top of a mountain and say to every citizen, if we don't address this issue of violence correctly, we're done. That's our public. So you got to educate people what this is. You got to educate. You got to work towards collaboration. You got to work towards civility, and you've got to deal with the public policy and redirect the funding. Right now, we just don't know because everything is uncertain. But I will tell you this from personal experience and pain. If we know how to address the issue of violence right now, you're done because no one is safe. Violence means to violate. Racism is violence. Economic suppression is violence. Political violence. It's all the same thing. So we've got to address this disease right now because America is falling. But I'm optimistic, but at the same time, I'm in this race to say to you and I, you don't want the pain of losing a loved one, do you? It don't feel good when somebody broke your child's brains out, y'all.
Time.
That's public safety.
The next question is for you, Congressman Krista Morphy. The Supreme Court's recent decision have weakened federal voting protections. Will you support federal legislation to guarantee things like same-day registration, automatic voter registration, and vote by mail? And will you advocate for structural reforms, i.e. filibuster changes and court expansions necessary to make the legislation possible?
I'm the prime sponsor of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. This must become the law of the land. This would require broad acceptance of absentee ballots, allow for election day to be a holiday, a national holiday, so people don't have to take time off of work to vote. It would also allow for, finally, us to be able to see the finances through disclosure rules of all presidential candidates, which doesn't necessarily exist today. And so this particular bill needs to become legislation. We called it HR 1 because it's the #1 most important bill that we should pass in Congress. John Lewis happened to be a friend and a mentor to me and a hero. And so if we could even just pass that, it would be one of the defining kind of great pieces of legacy for this civil rights giant. With regard to other issues, I personally think that we have to do everything we can to make voting easier. There's a case called Shelby versus Holder during the Obama administration, which reversed voting rights protections in the former states of the Confederacy. We must reverse those reversals. We have to go forward. Because if we don't change what's not working, it's going to remain broken. Thank you.
Time. Next question for you, Pastor. Leadership style and movement. Illinois has seen Senator Durbin's governing style firsthand. If elected, how would you approach or defer in terms of coalition building, progressive leadership, and institutional change? And what lasting structural outcome would you strive to achieve? For example, do you see yourself providing a new healthcare model or voting access or new policies that to the likes that haven't been pushed aggressively to your liking that reflects your core political values?
Our campaign is not built around Anthony Webbs. We have a title we're working for. It's called Power to the People. That's our campaign slogan. Power to the people. It means solidarity. It means working with everybody. That's my history of coalition building. My thing is to stay on the right side of history. And we need to, have you ever been to East St. Louis, y'all? Have you ever been to East St. Louis? That's where Durbin from. It don't look good down in East St. Louis. I was in East St. Louis. They tell me they rob churches down there every Sunday. That's East St. Louis. It is to bring prosperity to the state of Illinois, and particularly the Thornton Township. You think I'm gonna keep letting Harvey look the way it looks? Robbers look the way it looks? You've got to bring people up with you. It's not about an individual. It's about you all. If you ain't eating, I ain't eating. If they repossessing your car, they repossessing my car. If you go in your refrigerator, ain't nothing in there, ain't nothing in my refrigerator, you all. When you see a young mother that's struggling, standing on the corner with 3 children trying to make it, I'm in pain too. So when the tides rise, all ships rise. And believe me, as a civilian, I put hundreds and hundreds of people to work. I know my body of work speaks to itself. Send somebody there with a new spirit and new energy, not the same old tired rhetoric, y'all. America's changing, and if Rome falls, you have to survive. It's about our survival right now. Do you want somebody going there playing the same old game, or do you want somebody that's going to speak the power that you want to hear? So our campaign is about building everybody. All 4 corners of the state we're covering. And we're talking to the people in Peatone, where they should never build an airport. Power to the people. That's our campaign slogan. It's about you all.
This final question is for both of you guys before you go to your before you go to your close. With the national topic and rhetoric surrounding immigration, how would you guys defer your immigration policy from what's currently going on at the federal level, and how does that influence here locally in Thornton Township? Yes.
First of all, I don't think anybody in this room disagrees that we should have a secure border and a working legal immigration system. However, when an ICE agency sends out hundreds, if not thousands of texts throughout the Chicago area telling them to check in to their ICE facility in the South Loop, and these people report downtown on Father's Day to check in, and then they get snatched away from their families without any counsel, and their families have no idea where they've gone, that's not America. That's not a government that is working for the people. It's a government that's out of control. When my office and others contacted our government to try to figure out what happened at these ICE facilities. They didn't respond. Congressman Jonathan Jackson and myself went straight to that ICE facility, knocked on the door, they wouldn't let us in. We kept knocking. They finally let us in, and we were met with a masked ICE agent. The masked ICE agent refused his identification, refused to show his identity, refused to answer any questions, and then he called the CPD to evict us as trespassers. That is a government out of control. Right now, we have a situation where, unfortunately, the Trump administration is acting with impunity. And when people act with impunity, bad things happen. Today, they're coming for migrants. Tomorrow, they're coming for legal immigrants. And the next day, they'll be coming for you and for me.
Time.
Thank you.
Reverend Williams, the same question, immigration policy.
Everybody should know it's a broken system. It's a broken system. It's been broken for a while. But yet I know and I'm optimistic that it can be repaired. It's very painful to see people snatched off the streets. Where I pastor at Windsor Park Lutheran Church at 76 and Saginaw, that's a multicultural community. So we have people from all over Central America, they're there, they're in the food lines. And I talk to them, why you come to Mass? They say, man, because it's too violent down there, man. It's too violent in Venezuela. It's too violent in Nicaragua. We came there because it's so violent there. That's why they have us. We came because it's so violent. And so, you know, I don't have a magic wand for that. I do support the fact that the system has to be repaired because the system's been breached, and because of the violator who is now the executive director. I hope and pray that our good congressmen and others will continue to work to bring forth issues, but I support the right of people to come into this country legally.
Mr. Williams, 2 minutes to close, and then after that, Congressman Christian Morton, close. 2 minutes to close.
Let me, with humility, thank you all. You know, I'm a senior citizen too, I want you to know that. And when they got to playing around with them Social Security checks, that bothered me. I wanted my check, y'all. And then that little picture, I want that too. Paul, what do you all want? Take this senatorial race very seriously. What do you want? Do you want to have somebody that has your best interest? Do you want somebody that if you call them, you'll get a return call? What kind of person do you want? Do you want a servant to serve you? Or do you want the status quo to serve you? It's your call. Because all of our lives are at stake. They're not playing with us. Right now it's uncertain out here. It's unstable out here. And I would encourage all of you all with good sense. Send somebody there that's got the guts to stand for you. Send somebody there that has the track record in the background to say, I'm standing for you, not for graft, not for greed, not for prestige. As America is falling apart, what you gonna do?
Time.
All of us do our part. God bless you. Thank you.
Congressman Christian Morton, to close.
Thank you so much for your attention. Look, I think that right now, people are hurting. People are hurting. Whether you're working poor, whether you're middle class, whether you're growing a business, you saw what Donald Trump calls the big, beautiful bill. I call the large, lousy law. It's about to wreak havoc on America and on Thornton Township and in Illinois. 17 million people are about to lose their health insurance. 200,000 people in Illinois alone are going to lose their SNAP benefits. And as a child of food stamps and public housing, that's personal to me. On top of that, people are going to lose their educational assistance. They're going to lose their housing assistance. And for what purpose? It's to fund tax cuts for the wealthiest among us. And to add insult to injury, one of the most outrageous tax breaks in the large lousy law was this. They're going to exempt silencers from taxes. They're giving tax breaks to murderers and assassins, and they're cutting you and me and others off vital social safety net programs. That's wrong. That's un-American. That's not who we are. So the question is this: what kind of a country do we want to be? What kind of a future do we want for our children? Because if you're like me, the one thing you want in life, I have 3 kids, a 20, a 16, and a 9 with my beautiful wife, Priya. The one thing you want in life is you want your kids to do a little better than you did. Am I right about that? Yeah. You want them to have a brighter future than you. And right now we're going in the opposite direction in this country. As a child, I don't know why I got the breaks. My family got the breaks. I won the parent lottery, and I'm standing before you as a U.S. Congressman. But there, but the grace of God go I.
Come on now.
And now we have to make sure that all of us put ourselves in the position of those who are the least of us, and make sure that if we were in their position, this government would treat them the way we would want to be treated. It's putting the golden rule into law. That's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate, and I hope to have your support. Thank you so much.
All right, give a round of applause for the 2 gentlemen.
Okay, I know that was long, right? It was late. Get on about that. But anyway, we're gonna have our second congressional candidates come up to the table, please. Second congressional candidates come up to the table.
Calm down. Okay, we're gonna go down the list. We're gonna start from my left to right. We're gonna go introductions. We're gonna have a 3-minute intro. And then after the 3-minute intro, we have cards that's gonna be turned upside down. You just pick a card. That's gonna be one of the questions that's gonna get asked. We'll go down the list. And at the finality of it, we'll give you 2 minutes to close. All right. So we first start to my left with Senator Robert Peters.
Thank you, Senator. I'm State Senator Robert Peters of the 13th District. I'm also running for Congress. I'm running because Donald Trump and Republicans are taking an axe to our government and our well-being. And this axe is very personal to me. I was born in '85. My biological mom was addicted to heroin and drugs. I was born deaf and I had a speech impediment. Because of our system of child welfare, I was forced into adoption. And I was adopted by a civil rights lawyer for a dad who got 2 people off death row who were wrongly convicted. And I grew up struggling. I wasn't able to hear until I was 6 and fully able to speak until I was 12. There were people who told my parents they should have never adopted me. The fact is, we live in a world where people are constantly tossed aside, thrown to the side, pushed to the brink. We see it so that people feel like they're increasingly isolated. As they're going through struggle, they try to go through it themselves. But what helped me get through and what helps so many get through is an investment in community. It's breaking that isolation. It's understanding what it means to have each other's backs. Fundamentally, what we need is not people who are going to 30 to 40,000 people are going to lose their SNAP benefits. 20,000 clean people are going to lose their SNAP benefits. 20,000 clean energy jobs could go away. Mortgages could go up by $1,000. This bill is an attack on all of us. It's an attack on our ability to live. And we need people in this party who understand what pain looks like and how they turn that pain into purpose, and how they turn that purpose into power, and how that power needs to benefit each and every one of us. We have too many politicians who focus on talking points and not policy. We have to have action. As a state senator, working with Senator Harris on some of those bills, including the Illinois Healthcare Protection Act. As you heard from Lieutenant Governor Stratton, with step therapy, fail first policy, so that people have an easier time getting healthcare. I have worked to try to change our property tax system, so that anybody who's stuck in the tax sales system doesn't lose their home, that they can get on a payment plan so they can keep their home and they can transfer it to the next generation. We're in the fight of our lives, and it's not enough for us just to be rooted in the idea of talking points and polling. We need to be rooted in a sense of community. That's why I'm running for Congress. Thank you.
Next up is Mr. Jeremy Young.
Well, I'm Jeremy Young. I'm running for Congress in District 1. I was born and raised in the 2nd District of Illinois, Allgill Gardens, if y'all know what it is. I'm a legacy of advocacy through my grandmother currently.
Environmental illness that took his life. And that's what really propelled me to run for office. It was blasphemy of us can't pronounce, but when we see these things come into our communities, we know that we have to fight. So that propelled me to run for the Water Reclamation District, which I have been there for 3 years, fighting for environmental justice, independently and just unbought, unbiased, and just really wanted to make a difference in our communities. Because when you want to do the right thing, it is not easy. And so when you want to run for Congress, that is not easy either. But I'm here standing tall because I know that we need someone that's going to fight for this district, who understands this district, and who does not come into this district when it's an open opportunity. So I'm here to fight for this district. I'm here to fight for Medicaid, Medicare. I'm here to fight for SNAP. Because once upon a time, my family, we have been on those social services, and I know how important it is. Many say that those are just opportunities because people don't want to work, but everyone is the same opportunities. This big ugly bill says that you have to work 80 hours per month in order to be entitled to some of these resources. But where are the jobs? Where are people going to get the opportunities to stand up and protect and defend their families, to feed? Because you can put these things into policies, you can have all the policies you want, but you also need to have understanding of what this community looks like. You need to have experiences from the 90s to the war on drugs to the present day. Some of the things are still the exact same. And we need change in this community. We need change in the state of Illinois, and I'm here to fight for that each and every day. Thank you.
Pull a card, pull the card already. We're gonna go through the questions. We're gonna go in the same order, first time and the second time around we're gonna go. I'm gonna ask the audience to please hold applauses. Like I said, this is informative. We just want to give everybody the respect and opportunity so they can be heard. So please hold your applauses and let the candidates answer the questions accordingly. Thank you.
My card says democracy under threat.
Democracy. Given the ongoing efforts to undermine trust in elections, what concrete mechanism, not simply statements of support, would you sponsor or vote for to ensure independent election administration, protect poll workers, and hold accountable all those who spread disinformation about voting outcomes? How would you measure whether your efforts are succeeding this way?
Yeah, that's a big one. So currently we have an administration that obviously has involvement with January 6th, has spread disinformation around the 2020 election, and continues to spread disinformation about our democracy. In fact, I remember when I was working as a state senator, working on a few bills, Tucker Carlson, for example, attacked me, led to a bunch of death threats, calls from Texas saying that I should get lynched and that my family should meet him outside, and it was very frightening. And we live in this political environment where people are weaponizing violence against elected officials and against the community. And as we saw in Minnesota, that violence carried over to something very, very deadly. And so to me, what we need to do is we need to codify election rules on a national level. Okay, we have state by state bases that have different practices. So what you'll see in an election is sometimes Arizona will go different than Florida, that will go different than Illinois. We need to at least codify some of our elections nationally so that we can at least protect our election integrity. When it comes to things around false information and people trying to undermine our electoral process, well, in Brazil, when their president did that, he was sent to jail. Donald Trump, on the other hand, got back in the White House. That is a problem, and that cannot happen again. If someone is going to invade our Capitol and bring the traitor's Confederate flag on the Capitol floor, they have no place in our democracy because they lost that war. And to me, it's disgusting that that is back into a position of power. And so fundamentally, we need to strengthen our election protection on a national level, and we need to have a system that's going to hold people accountable when they try to undermine our elections. Whether that's through the AG, whether that's through policy, it needs to be through both in terms of the enforcement, and it needs to happen because that is a dangerous risk to our democracy. And so, I mean, having worked on some of these issues before, I was with Chicago Votes, we've seen an expansion in terms of blue states doing more to expand electoral rights. But the problem is, it can't just be blue states. It has to be the entire country. And that is something that I'm more than willing to fight for because I fought for as an organizer, I fought for as a state senator, and I'll fight for that in Congress. Thank you.
Mr. Toppin, Young.
Yes, it says federal investment in community-based safety.
Over the last decade, federal funds have supported local policing, but far less funding has gone to evidence-based community violence prevention. What specific federal investments or legislation would you introduce to shift the funding from punitive systems to community-led safety models in the second district? And how would you track the outcomes to ensure that there's transparency to the constituents?
Awesome question. I do agree with community safety as far as, I don't want to use like trigger words, but we should put more money into things like mental health services. We should put more money into organizations that invest in community safety. And also things for young people to do. You know, I think that we have to get serious about what engages them and listen to them when they say, this is what we want to see in our community. So just like when I did Solution Summit, we have all these things that the city or the county will line out and say, hey, these are the things you should do. But a lot of young people don't want to do those things. And rarely are they at the table. So I propose we bring it to young people to the table, one, to see what they want to see in their own communities. If it's jobs, we create jobs. I think the young people are old enough to tell us and say, hey, I want to see this happen so I can be a part of it. So just like we did when I did Solution Summit, we'd go into the high schools and things like that and have a panel with young people. And on that panel, we would listen. They would tell us what they see, the needs in their community. A lot of times we'd say, let's stop the violence, for instance. Can't stop the violence without them because they feel like they are not protected. You know, they're the ones that's going throughout the streets and they're the ones that have to catch the bus through different neighborhoods. So it's important for us to listen to it. So overall, I will look into mental health spaces and I will put more funding into opportunities for them.
Commissioner Brown.
Closing racial wealth gaps.
Research shows that the median wealth of black families is a fraction of what it is to white families. A gap particularly stark across the communities in the 2nd Congressional District. What specific tax policies, asset building programs, or reparative measures would you use to advance to close the racial wealth disparities? And what timeline would you issue for demonstrating these measurable progresses?
Thank you. That's a wonderful question. In the 2nd Congressional District, we know, and it is a fact, that the annual household income is much lower than the rest of the state. And so I believe that it's really important to create economic development in our community so that we can provide jobs and resources. We need more public safety so that businesses will want to come to our communities. We need more mental health services throughout the community. We also need educational systems where we can teach our kids to learn and grow, to look for some of these opportunities that currently exist. So those are some of the things that I would do. I would bring federal dollars back to IL2 so that we can create these resources for the community as well as the families, the kids, the seniors that live and reside within this community. Economic development, environmental justice, it should not be based upon your zip code. This should be fair and it should be accessible to everyone, regardless of where you live. And so that's something that I've been fighting for in my current capacity, and that's something that I will continue to fight for because it is very important. I believe that when you go to Washington, D.C., you need bold leadership. You need to be someone that's going to fight against broken systems. And even if that means that you're going to be in that role for 2 years, at least you can be as productive as you can be within that time instead of coming back to say, hey, I want another term, and you have done nothing for the people in IL2. So when I go to Washington, D.C., I'm going to fight for this community like I fight for everything else. As a former basketball player, I'm going to leave everything on the court to make sure that I bring resources and dollars back to IL2. Thank you.
This question is for Senator Peters. Many proposals focus on expanding insurance coverage, but access to care and health outcomes remain unequal. What reforms would you push beyond insurance expansion to ensure hospital systems, clinics, and providers deliver equitable, culturally competent care? And how would you ensure that healthcare systems in this district are held accountable for addressing disparities in maternal mortality and chronic disease?
Yeah, so, I mean, the first thing I'll say is we need a universal health system. I fundamentally believe that when we have public safety, it's often treated like it's rocket science. It's pretty simple. You give people good health care, you give people a good job, you give people good housing, you give people an ability to get from point A to point B, you give people good life, you give people power. That is the safety that we need. And so when I think about healthcare, the first thing is we need to have a universal healthcare system. We need to know that nobody is going to have to ever worry about whether they should go to a hospital or not because they can't afford it. On top of that, as a state senator and as chair of the Senate Black Caucus, I've worked with colleagues to invest millions in making sure that we can protect our safety net hospitals. We need to keep our safety net institutions open. In fact, this bill by Donald Trump and Republicans could close 2 hospitals in our backyards. At the same time, we need to make sure that people are actually getting the care that they need at those hospitals. That it's not going to be driven by how much money you're going to bring in, but how much care they're going to give to people. So fundamentally, when we create that sense of universal health care, it creates a payment structure that ensures that the hospital is delivering the care necessary to keep people safe and to keep people healthy. And what we also know is that we need to invest in programs. We've seen a massive disinvestment and an attack on DEI. We need more black doctors, more black nurses, and more black administrators. We need people who look like the community, come from the community, who are doing the care. But we can only do that if we're also investing in the education systems that allow that to happen. When you think about right now, if you go to become a doctor, you're talking about working 80 hours for very little pay. Right now, the highest rate of suicide is a resident, a physician resident. That's higher than almost any other job. And that is an immense pressure. Now add on top of that you're black and working class and you're in that dynamic. We need to ease those pressures, advance the talent pool, put more money into the system, and make sure that nobody ever has to worry about their health care. Thank you.
The next question is for Mr. Young. Steel, logistics, and heavy manufacturing have been pillars of employment in parts of this district, yet also major sources of pollution. What detailed policy or approach would you take to advocate for the transition of these industries toward a lower emissions while guaranteeing that no worker is left behind without income or retaining support?
Yeah, awesome question. One of my pillars is clean energy, but also those things will create jobs. But two, growing up in Allgill, they call that the toxic donut. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that terminology, but that's what drives one of my pillars as far as environmental justice and actually investing in that clean energy. So I'm open to bringing more clean energy jobs to Illinois and investing in them. And we have to do something about like the air and the pollution in these neighborhoods, especially specific to Second District, is nationwide known for environmental racism. So I want to make sure we invest in clean energy and bring jobs at the same time.
Next question. This next question is for Ms. Brown, Commissioner Brown. Communities such as Harvey, Dalton, Chicago Heights, and Lansing has faced decades of disinvestment, population loss, and eroding tax bases. What specific federal funding plan or strategy would you use to help revitalize these communities? And also describe the role that you see local governments and community organizations playing as partners.
Thank you, that's a great question. As you all know, we are the highest tax communities in the state of Illinois. And I believe that that comes from accountability. So one of the first things that I would do is to ensure accountability, whether that's on the federal level, the state level, or the local level. Because right now what we're seeing is everyone's pointing fingers and it's whose responsibility is it? So I would want to create legislation to add accountability around who is taxing our communities. I believe that that's very, very important so that people can stay in their homes. People are losing their homes here in IL2 each and every day because they're being taxed out of their homes, and that is unacceptable. So that is some legislation that I would want to create to ensure that people can live healthy, productive lives with the everyday living wage, for the working class family. So that is important, and those are some of the things that I would do. Thank you.
This final question is for all of you, and we're going to let Commissioner Brown start and then go down the line. College enrollment alone has not resolved the income disparities for many residents of the 2nd Congressional District. What targeted federal initiatives would you sponsor to strengthen the career or technical education, apprenticeships, and union-led training programs? And how would you guarantee that those programs could actually create a pathway to job opportunity in this district?
Thank you. I believe that you have 3 pathways. You could go to the military, you could go to college, or you can pick up a trade. And I believe what's really important is to put dollars into our communities where we can ensure that our kids are able to pick up a trade. One of the things that we're doing in the Southland is that we're trying to create a Southland Career Academy or a technical academy where kids can go pick up a trade. Because one of the things that I see when I go to these trades, I don't oftentimes see people that look like me. So I think we have to create opportunities where these opportunities are open to everyone. So I would want to create federal legislation and put federal dollars into the communities so that we can ensure that we give people the access to the trades, whether to college, creating opportunities for that in local junior colleges. I would love to see where tuition could be free. You should be able to go to school in your local community and you can pick up a trade or you can go to a military. There are 3 pathways, and I think we need to start speaking upon those, and we also need to create federal dollars and opportunities for the students and the families in IL2.
I echo most of her points as well. I do believe we should create federal funding for trade programs. It shouldn't just be college. A lot of times what's standing in the gap of success is if you want a real estate license, maybe you don't have the money to get the courses, but we can get federal funding for those things, especially while they're fresh out of high school. That can be eliminating that access that they can actually achieve. So creating federal funding for trades and making it just as if you can go and get a student loan for university, you can go get a student loan for a trade. And we should think about that in a real way. Also thinking about investing back into high school apprenticeships. I think those really gave young people purpose, and that allowed them to walk into their purpose as far as maybe what they want to do and taking steps toward it. Maybe they started in auto tech in high school, but then they go into owning a car shop after high school. So I think those things will help eliminate the disinvestment and making sure that we invest in not only just colleges, but the things they want to see. So if that's college, if it's military, or if that's a trade, we want them to have access to it.
Yeah, so let me first just start off. I remember I walked from college in 2009 without my degree. I was trying 10 credit hours short. I didn't finish getting my degree until 2023, partially because I lost my dad, and then I lost my mom, and I was just in the workforce. At the same time, I have $70,000 of student debt that's only going to increase more and more, particularly because Donald Trump, I don't know if you heard about this bill, but it's pretty bad, right? And so I'm going to literally be stuck with $70,000 of debt. And I remember everybody said, you're not going to go anywhere without a college degree. And it was all about college degree, college excellence. But I was in a situation where I couldn't afford it, and I had to go on in life and try to work. Having been unemployed, it's almost impossible. You're just trying to get by and get food on the table. And at the same time, when you're trying to get food on the table using government assistance, we make it very hard for poor people to get government assistance, make them go through every hoops and loops and everything that they have to do in order to do so. So therefore, you don't even have enough time to navigate government assistance while you're trying to get a college degree, while you're dealing with $70,000 of debt, while you're dealing with an increase in rent. That's a terrible situation. And so fundamentally, we need to make college more affordable and more accessible to everybody. That has to happen no matter what. On top of that, when we think about trades, it's not just enough to get people in trades. You need to protect trade union jobs. Right now, this bill that passed is 20,000 clean energy union jobs that in this state is designed to go to black folks are literally on the verge of getting cut. So we need to expand the amount of jobs and job opportunities, particularly when it comes to trades. We need to invest to make sure trade schools are not just going to be in certain suburbs, but they're going to be in every community, so that nobody has to worry about whether they can hitchhike to get a ride to be able to go to trade school, that they can actually be able to get there because it's right there in their community. We need to invest in that. And the last thing I'll say, because I've been rambling and I'm preaching, I get really angry if you can't tell, is we need to change our labor laws. Right now, it is impossible to organize your workplace, and it's getting harder. Our job is to make it so that it's easier. We need to repeal Taft-Hartley to allow that to happen. I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you.
So at this time, we're gonna do our closing. We'll give you 1 minute. We're gonna go down the list, 1 minute to close.
I'll keep it brief. At the end of the day, we know what our communities need. I've said this over and over again. Good union jobs, good schools, invest in education, good health care, making sure we have a transit system so people have an easier time to get to work or get to school, giving people the things that they need to have a roof over their head. And we need people who are going to fight and have a vision for what this country should be for everybody. I'm not just a state senator, I'm a community organizer. I fundamentally believe it is not just to be my job to play hero. I may walk in front of you, but I may not lead. I may not walk behind you, but I may not follow. What I will do is walk side by side with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Thank you, for offering this, Senator. But closing, I would say I believe our communities deserve new energy. They deserve people that's going to invest into the community specifically and listen, and not politics. You know, so that's why I'm running for office. That's why, you know, it is a tough thing to get out here to run for office, to come up with the ideas. But I don't want to come up with the ideas by myself. I want you guys to also come and say, hey, this is what our community needs. This is what we want. This is what reflect our values. And I will create the open government that we need in the second Congressional district. Also, invest in young people. Like, that's a big pillar of mine as far as safety is concerned. Young people is a bedrock of our community, and we need to do something about violence. And I'm a person in the community that cares about the young people. So in all, I want you guys to consider, voting for me and consider coming along this journey with me. Thank you.
I would like to thank this organization for putting on this forum for us all to share with you why we're running. I am Yamika Brown, and I am running for Congress because I believe we need bold, action-oriented leadership that I plan to take to Congress. I've spent my entire career in service, whether that was at the Alzheimer's Association fighting with researchers for a cure for Alzheimer's, whether that was at the American Library Association fighting to protect and defend the First Amendment of the Constitution so that books aren't removed from library shelves. Most recently, as Commissioner at MWRD, I have been fighting tirelessly for environmental justice. And those are the things that I plan to continue to fight for in DC. So in March of 2026, I would love to ask you for your support. If you would like to learn more about me, please visit yamikaforcongress.com. Thank you.
Please give a round of applause for all three of the candidates. Thank you for that. And we're gonna take a quick 3-minute intermission. Gonna be right back with some other officers. 3 minutes.
No, it's just too many. No, it's just too many violins. My man. All right, family. Good? Yes, sir. Hang in there, baby. All right, all right.
Take this. They out their minds, man.
Hey, y'all.
Hey.
Relaxing.
Good to see you.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So how's everything now since the change? Huh?
More peaceful.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what we want to hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now we got to get to work.
Oh.
I'm talking about to move things forward.
What's that?
To move things
Oh,
forward.
I thought you said you gotta get to work.
No.
See? Okay.
No, we as
Oh, yeah. Like we gotta get
the township, we got to get to work. That's right.
We need a plan.
Yeah,
That's the next step.
that's the Oprah Winfrey doctrine. I had to fight all my life. All my life I had to fight. All right, y'all. Have a good evening now.
You too.
All right, y'all. We out of here. Rally Check TV Chicago. I'm tired. About to go home. The meeting was kind of boring. Thank you guys for checking in. All my peeps. Appreciate y'all. Pete Bonza, I see you. Wyoming girl. French Wrench. Raging Cage, I see you. Appreciate y'all checking in. All right, we're gonna Cynthia M. I see you too. We're gonna see y'all on the next live. Until then, may God bless you and continue to keep you. It's my prayer. And may God smile upon you. Few candidates. Well, we out here, y'all. Always remember this. Love God first. Love yourself. Then you can love somebody else. Till next time, we gone. Peace.